Story number 1. Under the soft glow of a downtown jazz bar, I met Emily, a woman whose love for music echoed my own. There was an air of mystery about her, a sense of intrigue that drew me in deeper with every encounter. But beneath her captivating exterior, secrets lurked, poised to turn my understanding of her upside down. Our dates were always an adventure. Whether it was exploring an art gallery, trying exotic cuisines, or walking through the city at night, Emily made every moment feel like a scene from a romantic movie. Her laughter was contagious, and her insights into music and art made me see the world in a new light. I found myself falling for her, drawn not just to her beauty, but to her spirited view of life. As our relationship deepened, I started to notice small inconsistencies. Emily would often change the subject when I would ask her about her past. She had an unusual habit of paying for everything in cash, and sometimes she'd look over her shoulder as if she was expecting someone. These moments were fleeting, and her charisma always managed to overshadow my doubts. It was during a weekend getaway that I first felt something was amiss. Emily received a phone call that made her visibly anxious. She brushed it off as a work stress, but there was a tremor in her voice that I had not noticed before. Later, I saw her talking in hushed tones on her phone, her face shadowed with worry. But my concerns were quickly forgotten as our relationship seemed to blossom. We shared our dreams, laughed at our fears, and danced to our favorite jazz tunes. With Emily, every day was vibrant, filled with passion and the thrill of the unknown. Yet, in the back of my mind, the unanswered questions about her life lingered. One night, everything changed. We were having dinner at her place when suddenly, the door flew open and police officers rushed in, yelling for us to stay where we were. They were there for Emily. They said she had taken a lot of money from her company, more money than I could even imagine. It turned out that Emily was in big trouble, and the stories she told me about her job were part of a lie to cover up what she really was doing. As the police took her away, I felt a mixture of shock and heartbreak. The woman I'd been falling in love with was a stranger. The secrets she hid were now laid bare, revealing a reality far removed from the whimsical world we had shared. I realized then that the connection I thought we had was actually built on a foundation of deceit. In the aftermath, I struggled with feelings of betrayal and confusion. The places we had visited, the moments we had shared, all seemed like a beautifully crafted illusion. Emily's downfall was a sobering reminder of how easily we can be blinded by our emotions. Reflecting on our time together, I learned a hard lesson about trust and the masks people wear. Emily's story was a complex melody of truths and lies, and I was just a note in her symphony of secrets. As I moved on, I carried with me the memory of our time together, a bittersweet tune that played softly in the background of my life. Story number 2. In a digital world where connections are a swipe away, I stumbled upon Elena's profile. Her interest mirrored mine, her smile a promise of new beginnings. As our virtual bond deepened, I was blissfully unaware of the intricate web being woven around me, a web that was more than just pixels on a screen. Our conversation spanned hours, turning nights into mornings. Elena shared stories of her travels, her dreams, and her aspirations. She had a way with words, making every message feel like a personal letter meant only for me. Her sense of humor aligned perfectly with mine, and she seemed to understand me in ways that others didn't. It felt like we were building something real, something tangible. Despite our growing connection, Elena's reluctance to meet in person became a recurring theme. There was always something: an unexpected work trip, a sudden illness, a family crisis. I rationalized her excuses, attributing them to bad timing or unfortunate circumstances. My eagerness to believe in the connection we had fostered blinded me to the oddities of her situation. Then came the request for financial help. The first few times it seemed reasonable. A phone bill here, a car repair there. Elena always expressed her gratitude profusely and promised repayment. However, the frequency and magnitude of these requests began to escalate. Yet each time her stories were laced with just enough truth and vulnerability to sway my judgment. As doubt finally began to creep in, fueled by a friend's concern, I made the difficult decision to hire a private detective. The investigation was swift but devastating. Elena, the woman I had shared so many hopes and dreams with, was nothing but a fictional character in a sophisticated scam operation. The impact of this revelation was profound. I was left not only with a significant financial loss, but also a deep sense of personal betrayal. The emotional void left by Elena's absence was overwhelming. I had to come to terms with the fact that the person I cared for, the person I was planning a future with, never existed. Rebuilding after this experience was a difficult journey. I had to navigate the practicalities of reporting the fraud and dealing with financial institutions, all while grappling with a sense of shame and embarrassment. It forced me to reevaluate how I approached relationships, both online and offline. Through reflection, I learned to appreciate the value of skepticism and the necessity of physical interaction in building trust. The ordeal with Elena taught me the importance of balancing heart and mind, especially in the realm of digital relationships. While the scars from this experience will always be a part of me, they also serve as a reminder of my resilience and growth that emerged from this painful chapter. In the end, the lesson was clear. In a world where digital connections are abundant, it's essential to guard your heart and question the narratives presented to you. My journey with Elena was a testament to the complexities of vulnerability, deception, and the strength needed to move forward in the aftermath of such an intricate web of lies. Story number 3. Meeting Sarah felt like a stroke of fate, a serendipitous encounter over coffee that quickly blossomed into something profound. With shared passions and undeniable chemistry, she seemed like the perfect match. Yet, as our story unfolded, I couldn't shake the feeling that beneath her radiant surface, something was amiss. As weeks turned into months, Sarah and I grew closer. She was everything I had ever wanted in a partner. Intelligent, witty, and with a kind heart. We shared our dreams, our fears, and everything in between. It was the kind of relationship that I'd always hoped for, and I found myself falling for her more with each passing day. But then, things started to change. Sarah began receiving mysterious phone calls that she wouldn't answer in front of me. She became evasive about her past, changing the subject whenever certain topics came up. I noticed discrepancies in the stories that she told me about her life, but whenever I asked for clarification, she brushed off my concerns with a smile and a kiss. My suspicions reached a tipping point one evening when I decided to surprise her at her apartment with takeout from our favorite Thai restaurant. As I approached her door, I could hear voices inside. Concerned, I knocked, only to have the door swung open by a man that I had never seen before. He looked at me with a mix of confusion and annoyance. "I'm here to see Sarah," I stammered, holding up the bag of food as if it were a peace offering. The man's expression softened slightly. "You must be confused. Sarah isn't here. This is my apartment," he said. Before I could process his words, Sarah appeared behind him, her face pale as she realized I was standing there. The look of guilt was unmistakable. It turned out the apartment I had visited countless times, the place I thought belonged to Sarah, was actually this man's, her boyfriend of several years. Sarah had been leading a double life. The woman I thought I knew, who had shared her dreams and fears with me, was a fiction. She had fabricated stories, manipulated emotions, and deceived both me and her long-term partner. The revelation shattered my trust and left me questioning everything I thought I knew about her and about us. In the aftermath, I was left to pick up the pieces of my broken heart. Sarah tried to explain, to apologize, but the damage was done. The deceit was too deep, the wound too fresh. I realized that the person I had fallen in love with didn't truly exist. The experience taught me a harsh lesson about the complexities of human relationships and the pain that deception can cause. It was a reminder that sometimes the people we think we know the best can turn out to be strangers, and that love, no matter how strong, cannot thrive in the shadow of lies. Story number 4. That night at the nightclub, Lana stood out like a beacon amidst the pulsing lights and the rhythm of the music that filled the air. Her presence was electric, her flirtatious smile pulling me into a world of rhythm and allure. We talked, laughed, and danced, and the chemistry between us was undeniable. Sharing cocktails and stories, Lana felt like a dream, a beautiful escape from the ordinary. As the night wore on, she whispered the invitation that would change the course of the evening, suggesting that we leave the crowded nightclub for the quiet of her apartment. Blinded by the excitement and the promise of something more, I eagerly followed, oblivious to the fact that the night was about to take a turn beyond my wildest expectations. I followed Lana through the neon-lit streets, my mind racing with anticipation. The city seemed to pulse with energy, mirroring my escalating heartbeat. When we arrived at her apartment, a modern high-rise that cut an imposing figure against the night sky, I couldn't help but be impressed. Lana led me inside with a teasing glance over her shoulder, her hand finding mine as she guided me through the dimly lit foyer. The apartment was tastefully decorated, with soft music filling the space, creating an inviting ambiance. Lana excused herself momentarily, leaving me to take in my surroundings. That's when I noticed the photographs on the mantle, Lana cozying up to a man I presumed was just a friend. I shrugged off the flicker of doubt, reminding myself of the night's promise. Upon her return, Lana suggested we make ourselves more comfortable and disappeared into another room, leaving the door ajar. The scenario seemed to unfold like a fantasy, yet before I could follow, a sudden noise from behind startled me. Turning around, I came face to face with a man who was decidedly not just a friend in the photographs. Before I could react, a heavy blow to my head sent me spiraling into darkness. The last thing I remember was the cold floor against my cheek and the sound of my own heartbeat thundering in my ears. I awoke to a pounding headache and the bitter realization that I was alone. Lana and the man were nowhere to be seen. A quick pat-down confirmed my worst fears. My wallet was gone, along with any illusions of the night's earlier promise. I was left with a throbbing pain in my head and a deep sense of betrayal. The aftermath was a blur of police reports and canceled credit cards, a stark contrast to the night's initial allure. I couldn't shake the feeling of being a mere pawn in a game I hadn't known I was playing. Lana and her accomplice had orchestrated the evening with precision, leaving me with nothing but a hard-learned lesson in trust. Reflecting on the night, I realized how easily I had been lured into a trap, blinded by attraction and the excitement of a new connection. The experience left me more cautious, a reminder of the shadows that lurk behind enticing smiles and whispered invitations. It was a story I'd later recount with a mix of embarrassment and disbelief, a cautionary tale of a night that promised much, but delivered only deceit. Story number 5. On a sunny day that seemed to hold endless possibilities, I met Isabella. Her beauty was striking, and her charisma was undeniable. She swept me into a whirlwind romance of sophistication and luxury. Little did I know, our journey together would lead me down a path filled with unexpected twists and revelations. My relationship with Isabella progressed quickly. Each date was more extravagant than the last. Isabella had expensive tastes, but I was too enamored to mind. We dined at the finest restaurants, attended high-profile events, and took spontaneous weekend getaways. Isabella also had a way of making our intimate moments feel special and exciting, always keeping the flame of romance alive with her affectionate and passionate nature. I felt like the luckiest man alive, swept up in a romance I had only dreamed of. Yet, amidst the glamour, there were fleeting moments that didn't quite add up. Isabella was vague about her past, her family, and her occupation. She often received phone calls that she would dismiss or answer in hushed tones. Once, I stumbled upon a collection of different IDs in her purse, each with a different name. She laughed it off, claiming it was for an acting gig, and I believed her. Love has a way of blinding you to the truth. It wasn't until a rainy evening, as we were cozying up on the couch, that my world came crashing down. A news story flashed on the television, detailing a nationwide search for a woman suspected of defrauding several men across the country. The suspect's sketch resembled Isabella without a doubt. The report detailed her pattern: charm, love, financial drain, and then a disappearance, leaving behind nothing but heartache and debt. My heart raced as I looked over at Isabella. Could it be? Was the woman I loved a con artist? I searched online for more information, finding stories of men who had fallen for the same trap. Each story echoed my own, painting a picture of a master manipulator who had skillfully woven a web of lies. The realization was like a punch to the gut. I had to act. Trembling, I called the police, my voice barely a whisper as I reported my suspicions. When they arrived, Isabella's facade crumbled. The truth spilled out. Her real name, her history of deception, and her method of preying on unsuspecting men. I watched in disbelief as the police handcuffed her, the woman I had fallen for, now a stranger. The aftermath was a blur of emotions: betrayal, humiliation, and a profound sense of loss. Isabella, or whoever she really was, had not only drained my finances, but had also taken a piece of my heart with her elaborate ruse. In the days that followed, I grappled with the reality of the situation. The charming, beautiful woman I had fallen in love with was a mirage, a carefully crafted persona designed to deceive. The experience left me cautious, wary of the shadows hidden behind a captivating smile. I had learned a hard lesson about trust, love, and the hidden dangers that can come disguised as a perfect romance.